Hello, today I'm speaking to Chris Dunne of VocaLink, and we're going to talk about the 5-year anniversary of faster payments in the UK. Now, the faster payment service was launched 5 years ago. It's a rather established payments mechanism. What do you think this tells us about the evolution of payments in the UK?
There's been an extraordinary amount of change over the past 5 years. So clearly launching a new payment system at the start of a global financial crisis possibly wasn't the best timing, but actually we have seen volumes and the use of the system grow and grow over the past few years. In terms of changes over the past 5 years, there's been huge regulatory and political pressure on banks and on payment systems. There's been technology change enormously, particularly for the consumer, and there's been a change in consumer expectations. And what we see growing over the past few years is with the rise of tablet computing, with the rise of smartphones, people expect payments to be immediate, not to wait 3 days, not to wait for a check in the post. And so we've seen volumes in faster payments rise. So this year we expect to see between 900 and 950 million transactions worth about £750 billion being pushed through the faster payment system.
So UK banking reform is very much in the news today. So, do you think the faster payments infrastructure has a role to play?
It has a huge role to play. The financial crisis and the pressure on banks means that they have to reuse what is already there. There is very little point in building new clearing infrastructures, building new payment systems, when you have very, very good rails. So the faster payments infrastructure is ripe for extended use and reuse. So we see it as being the heart of new payment systems, in particular mobile payments. Now, mobile payments have been just around the corner for the past 5 years, and we genuinely think that they are now in the UK about to get mass market adoption within the next year through the launch of the Payments Council mobile database, which will give reach to all bank accounts in the UK. But fundamentally, it will reuse both the faster payment infrastructure and to some extent the link infrastructure for some banks that choose to use that.
Faster payments gets a lot of exposure internationally. At the Payments Council event this week in London, Canada and Australia were mentioned as countries that are looking at the experience that the UK has had. What do you think other countries can learn from faster payments in this country?
I think there's some key important lessons that other countries can learn from the UK's experience. I think the first one is think very carefully about the formats that you're going to use. At the moment, faster payments works on a card format, ISO 85H3, which is perfectly fit for purpose, but ISO 20022 is where the world is going. It allows you to carry much more data. When we built immediate payment service, we built that around ISO 20022 for exactly that reason. I think other things to learn are make sure that the bank offering is uniform and is understood by the consumer. To some extent, the slow take-up of faster payments was down to individual banks had slightly different offerings, and it wasn't very well communicated to the consumer, so people didn't know it was there. And still, they don't really know what faster payments is, but they absolutely see that payments are moving faster through the banking system.
So it's all well and good talking about faster payments in a domestic setting, but what about cross-border? Will cross-border faster payments ever become a reality?
I think it is, but it's some years off. Cross-border payments at the moment are inefficient, slow and largely opaque, and we see the trend over the next few years towards greater transparency and greater simplicity in cross-border payments. And a logical evolution as the world moves towards real-time payments is cross-border real-time payments. And this is where standards come in again. If everybody's talking the same language, everybody's using ISO 20022, then you can interoperate and you can communicate. And it means that we'd be able to send payments from a bank account in the UK to, say, a bank account in Poland in a matter of a few seconds rather than days.